Today's interview is with Jen du Plessis. Jen is super successful, experienced loan officer who just retired a few years ago and is heavily invested in real estate as well. But she's a speaker, a coach, and she talks about priority management and some techniques that we can take away and to use in our lives to help prioritize things and to give ourselves more time and time freedom. So really interesting interview today, so insightful and so educational. So stick around for all of that. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Jen du Plessis. Hey, Jen.
Hey, how are you? I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure to have you. And I'm excited to have you on the show as well. It's going to be a very fun conversation and interesting as well, no doubt about that. But before we dive in and get into today's conversation, do you want to give us an idea about your background, what you've been up to, and what you're up to these days?
Yeah. Oh gosh, my background, what I'm up to. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do it in a short little thing. I had, I was in the financial services, specifically in mortgages, for 35 years. I retired 2.5 years ago, and I'm now a international speaker, a coach, a podcaster. I have 2 podcasts myself, and I'm also an author. And more importantly, I'm a glam ma.
Oh, wow. A glam ma. That's awesome. So we don't have much to talk about today then, I guess. There's nothing much that we could...
No, don't really have a lot of experience.
Brilliant. No, there's so much, right? Where to start? So the loan business, right? You're in the mortgage business for 35 years. How did you get started in that? What attracted you to that business?
Yeah, well, nothing attracted me to that business. I was I was studying to be a cardiologist. I'm a pretty smart cookie. I'm very book smart. I'm not so much street smart. I'm getting better, but I was going to be a cardiologist, and hey, you take that one class and it just turns you away. And I ended up getting my degree in architectural design and construction engineering.
Wow.
Which is, my father was a Class A contractor and an architect. And I thought, well, that'll work. I can do that because it's something I know. And I was one of 67 out of 67 people in the class. I was the only woman in one of the classes. And when I was getting my specialization, which was in mechanical engineering, and I ended up I couldn't find a job. I mean, back then it was really hard for women to break into anything. It was in the 80s, the early 80s. And, it was just hard for me to break into it. And so my dad said, well, you can work for me. And I said, no. And so I went on a job interview for a mortgage company, and I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know how to spell mortgage. Rates were 18.5%. I didn't even know what percent was. And the rest is history. I grew through all of that and became, one of the top 200 loan officers in the country. And that's a magic number, by the way. They do the top 200. They don't do the top 250 or 300. They do the top 200. I don't know why, but, and the rest is history. And through the course of it, I bought my own product. I bought houses on the way. And as we were talking not in the green room, but when we were talking previously, we owned the first property we ever bought when we were 19, before we got married. The rate was 14.75, I think. We got a gift to buy the house because we didn't have enough money to be able to buy the house. And we still own the property now. And, now it's worth maybe 140,000, almost 35 or 38, 40 years later, which is really sad, but it started off really low. I think we paid 42 or 38,000 for it, something like that.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Then on a high level, with all that experience you've had, right? I'm sure you advise people on getting loans and getting mortgages now. On a high level, what would some tips be from that? Because obviously you have a wealth of experience, right, and a wealth of knowledge, right? Just to some people, maybe starting out trying to get their first property or either an investment or to live in, what kind of stuff do you advise them so that they can understand? Because a lot of people don't fully understand loans, right? You get a loan from a bank and you buy a house, right? That's the basic of it, but there's more that goes into it than that, right? What kind of stuff would you advise them, and what do they need to know to be better lenders?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, you know, if it's somebody buying a primary residence, is totally different than investment. One of my niches was investment because that's what I am, an investor, and I needed to find new outlets for myself. And but I would say, you know, if someone's just trying to buy their own property, their first property, you know, is that it's not a glorified rental. You need to go in with an entrance, holding, and exit strategy, and of course, we do that in investing all the time, but we fail to do that in our owner occupied homes. I think it's the emotional decision, and that's fine. It is emotional. You are going to live in it. I get it. But look at it as a wealth building tool, you know, especially on the exit strategy. Is it going to stay as a rental, or is it going to be, you know, converted to an Airbnb like you and I were talking about as a rental? Or do you intend to take all of the equity or the proceeds from it to be able to buy your next house? Or how are you going to split that and disseminate the funds so you can buy another investment property? So really knowing your exit strategy on the owner occupied and not making a glorified rental. On the investor side, take the emotion out, draw a line in the sand. If you want a positive cash flow of $250 a month, then do not settle for 49.50 or 249.50. It doesn't work. Put that line in the sand and take the emotion out and make sure the numbers are working. And I would say if you're just starting, go to your local mortgage company. Go to a local mortgage company, mortgage bank. It doesn't matter. They're all loan officers inside there, but go to your local bank and get your first loan the old traditional way and learn what the process is. And, you know, from there you can start getting creative, because otherwise you most likely you won't actually start doing it. Quite frankly, I run into a lot of investor wannabes, and the problem is there's so many creative ways. There's thousands of ways to buy a house. You got to learn the first way to buy an investment property before you go into all this crazy stuff. I mean, it's my opinion. I just think your foundation would be better.
Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. And is now the lowest interest rate you've ever seen in your career? I think, what are they now?
Yeah. Well, not now, but yes, a few
Okay,
weeks
yeah,
ago.
it's just up a little bit now,
A
right?
few weeks ago, yeah, I not now, but yeah, I mean, this is definitely the lowest. In fact, I was telling my husband, he's still in the business. He's been in the business for 25 years. I said, there's a little piece of me that just wants to get back in because I could be killing it right now. But but I'm actually just looking forward for what's going to happen now, because right now there's a lot of changes going on, and I think it's going to be great for investors. So I'm excited about what I can kill it with the investor side, you know, coming up.
What do you think that is? What do you feel like?
Well, I think we have forbearance issues, right?
Mhm.
Forbearance that was allowed for everybody, and then when we come out of that forbearance and we come out of the stipulation, you know, for investors not to be able to collect rent or kick people out, I think we're going to start seeing some of that happening. In the forbearance side for owner occupied, people are not going to be able to make their payments. You know, they've been going through forbearance, and that's fine, but they may or may not be able to make their payments. They may not have enough equity to move to go take that new job. So they'll either do deed in lieu or let it go into foreclosure, which is sad because we can help them.
Mm.
Um, and I think, you know, and I think there's going to be other people that just different job changes and things like that. I don't see us coming out of this anytime soon. So I think that's going to pose a lot of opportunities for us as investors, as long as we're planting the seeds and then watering. And you can't just plant it, you got to water it too. So you have to water the seed and let everybody around you know that you're an investor and the type of investing you like to do. But collaborate with other investors who do other things so that we can help as many people not go through the suffering that we did in the Great Recession.
Yeah, you're very interested. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure what happens with the eviction moratorium, what happens with, you know, obviously today's the 20th January, so Joe Biden just got sworn in today, right?
Yeah, did he? And I haven't even been on, I mean, I live in this area. I live right outside of DC, and I'm not even involved in it because it's just such chaos, you know, right now that I can't even get involved. But yeah, there's speculation on what's going to be happening coming up. And I would just say, you know, if you're an investor, posture yourself, take all the cobwebs out of everything and make sure that you're ready to take advantage of every opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Get everything in order, right? For sure, for sure. You're also a speaker. How did you get into that? How did that come about?
um, I don't, it's funny because I always consider myself to be a shy person. I still do. I still consider myself to be a little bit humble. I'm not, I have a little bit of armor around me. I don't like to talk about, a lot of things that go on in my life, but somewhat of a private person. And, but here's what happened. I honestly think this is probably it. I started playing flute and piccolo when I was in fourth grade. And I think as a performer, and this, right? You get into the point where you perform and then you have your recitals and you have to perform by yourself and then you're performing with a group. And anyway, that led me to be in Miss Colorado.
Mm.
And we get to Miss Colorado and they're like, well, what's the talent you're going to do? And everyone's like, oh, she's going to play her flute. Well, no, I wasn't going to play my flute because I was afraid to play my flute. Because I don't know. I mean, I just was afraid to play for a while up there. It wasn't a recital. I wasn't being judged. It was people watching me in a different way. And so I decided I would do a speech. And the speech was called America is Beautiful. That was the name of the speech. And I remember the first line, and that's all I remember. But it's funny that, and so I ended up being Miss Runner Up. But what's funny about that is that who would have ever thought that, hear me doing a speech at a beauty contest, when I was 17 years old, that I was going to be, speaking for a living. But when I got in the mortgage business, I took the operational route, which was what most women did at the time. But then ultimately I went into sales and origination. And my method of getting business from people was teaching them, because I had all this knowledge, from how loans work, et cetera, inside. I was an underwriter, the person who makes the decision on the loan. So I just said, I'm a roaming underwriter. And so I just started teaching realtors. And so for 22 years, I've been speaking and teaching realtors. And that just blossomed into, hey, can you speak here? Would you speak there? When I became in the top 200 in the country, and being a woman at that, people were calling me and saying, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Can you speak here? And then eventually I had to make a decision. I either continue to do mortgages or I sort of chase this dream. And I was just, if you've ever felt like something's missing, right? It was missing. That was what was missing, is sharing, my strategies for success with other people. And that's really what speakers do, is their mess becomes their message. And I had a mess and I figured it out, and that became my message. And yeah, so now, I've spoken with, I mean, I can't even name all the wonderful people I've spoken with. They're celebrities. They are celebrities. And I've just been so blessed to have that opportunity and learn from them and be able to call them friends now. So that's a little accessory that happened with what I was building.
Very cool, very cool. So
Yeah.
you're coaching and you're speaking, that you kind of speak and coach on the same kind of subject matters. What do you speak and coach on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really about priority management, mastering your priorities. I think that, when you get down to the end of the day, a lot of the reason that people struggle to be successful, and even when they are successful, they're miserable because they worked so hard. And and I was doing that too. I think I was doing it more than anybody because of my childhood. I was called Jenny who ain't got a penny. And my uncles told me I was going to be like my father. I was going to be an alcoholic. I was going to be poor. I wasn't going to amount to anything. And so my whole life was proving. I had this life of proving. And I decided one day, I had a very specific story that happened, but one day I decided I'm done proving. I want to start living. And I was doing well. I was closing 50 million a year in volume in loans, which is top 1% of loan officers. And right now, to give you an example, like right now we have I think it's 512,000 loan officers, licensed loan officers. So the top 1% means that I'm in the top 51,000, which isn't much, right? Does not say much, but to be in the top 200. But I didn't have the goal to be in the top 200. My goal was, I can't do this anymore. I'm sick of working 100 hours a week. Just everything was chaos. Everything was overwhelmed. Everything was stressed out. And I wasn't living my legacy while I was building it. I was chasing it, proving. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And so that's when I cracked the top producer code. And it has nothing to do with just mortgages, but any solopreneur, any investor, any salesperson is cracking the code on being successful on your own terms. And so the next year and a half, I worked on all of it. I did personal development, professional development, everything that I possibly could, and ended up closing 100 million and only working 4 days a week. And that's because I wanted to be on my boat. Right? I just wanted to be on my boat. I had to find a way to get on my boat. So that's what I really teach people, is just how to get it all done. People ask all the time, how do you get it all done? And it really is managing my priorities. And, for investors, that's a big challenge, because a lot of us have that as a side hustle. Mm-hmm. And finding the time. And there's gurus who say you can get it done with just dedicating an hour a day, and you can get it done. But no one seems to know what to do, because the priorities aren't in play. And the fact that I own 4 businesses now, and allows me to invest and speak and podcast and be an author and coach and be a grandma and be a dancer. I'm a competitive ballroom Latin and swing dancer. To be able to do all that stuff, I have to have my priorities straight, and I have to be really intentional about what I truly want, not just chasing a bunch of shiny objects.
Yeah. Well, so can you break that down a little bit? I know I'm sure it goes a lot more than something that can be kind of filled in a 30 or 40 minutes.
In the time we have together. Yeah.
Well, maybe on a high level, some.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, no, I totally can give you the high level. So, the first thing is just, I believe that a life of values adds value everywhere in your life. So I had to go back to my values and say, what's truly important? Because everything isn't. We think it is, but it's not. So I had to go back to my values. So I would just suggest that everyone start with, what are your core values? What are the things that are most important to you in life? And sometimes people don't even know how to do that, because they go, I say, I don't know, what's your core value? And they go, family. And I go, well, I don't know. Is that a question or is that a conviction? Right. And so if it's family, why are you working 100 hours a week? You're putting them second, not first. So, be as good to you as you are to your business. And so it starts with the core values. So if you can't figure out what your core values are, then start with what you can't stand. Do you like people who are dishonest? No. Okay, well then honesty is a core value, right? I mean, it's just easy to reverse engineer it. And then once you have those, everything you do needs to align with those. Does it make sense? If honesty is a core value, then you don't work with dishonest people. But you have to be aware of that. You have to have the antennas up looking at that, to say, that I don't work with dishonest people. So if you see any snippet of dishonesty, they're gone. Instead of, well, I got to work with them because I got to make money. I got it. You will make money. I promise. You will make twice as much, 4 times as much. But you have to stick to those convictions. If your family is important, you tell people, I can't meet you. I can't meet you tonight. I'm going to have to, but I can meet you tomorrow night. Can we meet tomorrow night? Or you at least are consciously phoning your value and asking your value, hey, family, they can't meet. Is it okay? But we make too many exceptions for business, and we don't make enough, of those for ourselves. So that's where it starts. And then it's the 5 principles that I created, which is clarity, which I'm talking about now, getting the clarity, attracting clients and business by doing the specific activities that will attract rather than you trying to chase. So the clarity is 1, credibility is the 2, is becoming a master at what you do. A master at what you do will allow for you to attract more people. They want to work with someone with a PhD, not someone who is an amateur. So being the master, letting the world know that you're the master. And so that market influence, and that's why I say, like, plant your seeds, right? The credibility. Then it's your community. How do you nurture those friendships, relationships, clients, renters, partners, all of those? How do you nurture those relationships on a regular basis so that they are your bird dogs, right? And then your communication. What are the systems you have in place so that you can scale? So it's not just kids. Oh my gosh, I got my first contract. Now what? You should have already had your system put together, right? Because then you're losing that opportunity. And then last but not least is continuity. And the reason I bookend clarity and continuity is that the inside is the tactical, the outside is the mindset. You have to be consistent. You can't lose weight having junk food all week and being good one day. You have to be consistent. And so you have to have those priorities in place so that you get in, do your work, be intentional, and get out and live your life.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because it's so easy to get caught up, right? I want to be successful. I want to create this lifestyle for myself, right? And a lot of us are trying to create financial freedom for ourselves, right? But then, like you said, you're working 100 hours a week. Well, why were you trying to create financial freedom? A lot of times comes down to family, right? Because people want to spend more
time. You can't enjoy it. So you can't enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine calls it toes in sand, phone in hand, right? Not computer. I don't want a laptop business. I want to be able to run it from my phone, And I think one of the challenges, Barry, that I think what we're seeing now is, the 21st century leader. And it's funny because it's, for some reason, the 21st century seemed to have started last year. Mm-hmm. Because there was so much turmoil. We had 9/11, we had the Great Recession, right? We had all of these things that happened, and then we got COVID, right? And but the 21st century leader is very different than it used to be. And one of the things I know about leadership is that we as humans mimic our leaders, right? We mimic our leaders. And right now we are being led by everything. Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, political figures. I mean, we are being led like crazy, and we become who we watch and who we observe. And because there's so much available to us, we're becoming everything. And we're not good at anything. And we're stressed out because the next guy has something bigger, badder, better than we are. And so this, when you get back to values, will make you so much more happier, because it's like, I don't need, like right now, I mean, I have a house payment. That's it. Right? Yeah. And it's by choice. I have a house payment. I don't have to make a ton of money. Do I want to? Sure, but I don't have to. And that's where my values are the string to my helium balloon. And so if you've got all these balloons that are just like going crazy around, you have to let your values pull you in to say, okay, that one can go and be super successful, but do all of them need to be successful? Do all of them have to make you work 100 hours a week? All of them? No, they don't. So if you prioritize, you can say, you know what, I want this one to be moderately successful. Maybe this one doesn't need to be in a stability phase. Maybe I could spend more time formulating before I concentrate. Maybe over here, it's all about concentration on this one. That one's going great, but this one needs concentration. This is where I'm going to spend my time, money, and effort, right? And my energy, because I want to get this one to do the same thing that one's doing, instead of trying to get them all at that same stage and killing ourselves to do it. Yeah. Life's too short.
Yeah. No, and that's brilliant. And then, like you said, it's just, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much distractions, right? It's easy to just get caught up in everything, right? And if you have those core, whatever your core values, like you said, is just what anchors you, right? What's important and what's not, right? Well, if you don't know,
yeah,
back to your core values and what are you trying to achieve? What is important to you in life? And once you understand that, like that word you said, clarity, right? That's so important. And once you have that clarity of understanding what your core values is, everything else around it becomes clearer, right? It gives you that clarity of what you should do. I think it gives you that roadmap, essentially.
It's easier to take action. Yeah, it's easier to take action. It's easier to make decisions. You know, someone says, oh, I want you to do this for this thing. You can go, wait a minute, hold on. Where am I at with this business? Is it in formulation, concentration, momentum, stability? Where is it at? What are my core values? Is it aligning? Ooh, that feels funky. I don't know if I should do it. Then the answer is don't do it. Don't do it. You will be rewarded some other way, because that freedom of that time will allow you to focus on what truly matters and what will move the needle in your business.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because obviously that's a tough thing to try and summarize, right? How to priority management, right? It's not an easy thing to summarize, but you did it.
No, there's a lot of little components to it. There's definitely, and that's what I do with coaching is we just like narrow that down all the way down to little itty bitty things, just one little degree of change. The 212 degrees, right, of water, right? 211, it's super hot, and at 212 it boils. It's that 1 degree of difference that can accelerate you thousands of degrees. And it's just trying to find that 1 degree. And if you could find 20 of those 1 degrees, imagine what you could achieve.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. And you've got a cool story, and it's super successful, super smart, and super driven. And I love everything you're doing. So I appreciate you sharing everything that's going on, and especially those last bit of tips. It's just, if anything, biggest thing I take away is having that core values. Is just if someone's going to take something away, I think that would be the most important thing. Like, have that core values and understand why they're.
Don't allow the stone skipping of core values. They really, really are important. Yeah,
very cool. Well, as this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I like to incorporate.
I to think of a name. I know. Okay. All right.
Some wrestling. As this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I like to incorporate some wrestling-related real estate questions. So the first question is, what would your wrestling name be if you picked one for yourself?
Yeah, my wrestling name. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I don't have anything like fancy. I should have something, really fancy. But I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, you know what? Implementation ninja.
Okay.
Implementation ninja. That would be it. I'm going to be stealthy. I'm going to have action. I'm going to fly under the radar, but watch out, because when I come out, I'm going to pounce all over it.
Yeah, love it. No, love it. Implementation ninja. Perfect. Every wrestler has a special move. What is your special move in real estate, you think? What is your biggest strength?
I would say my special move is curiosity. I would say, that's my move. My move would be curiosity. I'm really good with relationships, and I'm really good at showing people how much I care. And so my move is that I push the paperwork aside and say, let's just have a talk. And I think that's my move, because it's a client attraction technique that has a higher conversion ratio. So I win more.
And I think that curiosity as well is important, to understand what people want as well, right? The more you understand what people want, the more you're able to give them what they want, right? If you just, they need a loan, I'm going to give you a loan. But
if you just show up and try to fill out a bunch of paperwork, you're not going to really get that relationship. And so you're not going to convert as much. And that, I think, is very stealthy and ninja-ish as well,
It's all coming together now.
Yeah.
So what's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your career, you think?
Yeah. The biggest body slam, if I'm going to keep, on lines with real estate and stuff like that, probably the biggest body slam I ever took in my business was being overlooked for a promotion because I feel because I was a woman, and I'm not a part of the Me Too movement. I have empathy for anybody, but there's no such thing as victim. It's all victor. For me, I've worked so hard to pave the way for people in this industry as a woman. That I was body slammed pretty hard, and it forced me to make some dramatic changes that I was afraid to do. But in hindsight, I'm glad I did it. And they came back to me with their tail between their legs and hired me back at twice the amount of money. So I'm okay with it. But it really did body slam me, because I'm a very fact-driven person. Think about, I'm Spock. I'm a linear, logical thinker, and all the facts were there for me to be the person who should be in that job. And I was overlooked for it, and it just I couldn't comprehend it. I was just dumbfounded by it. So I said, screw you guys. You're losing me. Someone else is going to get me better. So that was the body slam, is watch out, because I have my facts together. And I will squash you. I just will.
Yeah, it seemed like you reversed it, right? They tried to body slam you, but you kind of ended up body slamming them. So I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
So what was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope, getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I missed a big opportunity to speak with on a stage, and I've been on. Subsequent to this, I have been on the stage with Tony Robbins and Darren Hardy, who are two people that I admire. But um, I lacked the confidence. I had imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't playing in that world. It's funny how and I know you can appreciate this, when you're the best and greatest in wrestling, and then you go to a different thing, and you just don't have that confidence, right? And so I've been coaching and speaking and podcasting for years, but when I was finally asked to be on the stage with these big people, I was like, no, I'm out. I'm not ready. I'm not that good. There's no way I can be there. And I hated that I lacked that self-confidence, but I did have some work that needed to be done. And I did do the work. And subsequently I shared stages with both of them and have shared stages with both of them. But um, I just wish that I wasn't so much of a perfectionist and just allowed progression, a progression to happen so that I could have realized success sooner.
Mm,
Why delay it?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that's probably the lesson that I've learned in that and I would say to anyone who's listening is, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Um, do it now so you can realize the success that you want, whether it's financial or family or, for me, success is my lifestyle.
yeah. And I think we all have those limiting beliefs, right? Especially with something that we don't have necessarily the most comfort is. But I think our limiting beliefs are stronger and create a worse scenario in our head than the reality of the
Oh yeah.
situation
Oh
is.
yeah. It's all made up. All
Yeah,
of it's made up. Yeah.
yeah,
And we can self-sabotage, right? By having it come to fruition just by thinking in the negative. So I just didn't want to put the stress on myself. So I just backed out. And I thought, well, that was weak. That's not a Jen move, right? But it was. And when I look back on, I wish I had taken advantage of it. I could have gotten further along faster. But then I'm okay with my decision too, because again, it's my faith and my core, right? My faith, my family, and my stability. And I look back at that and I got answered that. But tenfold is that I've been on stages with them several times, and I'm a better speaker because of it.
yeah, yeah. Very good, very good. Well, Jen, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I know, like you mentioned, even though with your priority management, I'm sure you're still very busy. You have a lot of stuff going on. So I appreciate you taking the time. This was really fun and very
Oh,
insightful.
well,
Thank you.
of course I would take the time for you. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no, of course. And I look forward to having you on my show. I look forward to having you on my stages. I can't wait for our relationship to continue to grow. So thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Yeah, oh, thank you for those kind of words. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Excited to get to know you more and to be on your show as well. You've got an amazing show. And on that note, do you want to give us? Do you want to tell us about your two shows? Do you want to tell us about everything? Plug everything that you've got going on, essentially.
Oh, oh my God. I have a whole bunch of stuff going. Okay. Yeah. So one podcast is called Mortgage Lending Mastery. So we have real estate investors, realtors, loan officers, and just professional and personal development on there, Mortgage Lending Mastery. The second is called Success to Significance, Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, my stories. Right. I love stories of success and breakthroughs and whatnot. And that's the show you're going to be on.
Yeah.
And I'm forming a mastermind right now, a true mastermind. I'm a certified mastermind leader. I'm forming that right now. We start February 23rd. So anybody who's interested in that, I'd love to have that conversation. I'm having a 2-day Cracking the Top Producer Code workshop on February 12th and 13th. It's a virtual event where we're going to talk about the 5 C's that I told you about. And there will be someone very special in the mortgage business. So if you're an investor, you might want to be there anyway, because he's going to be talking about what the economy looks like. He's now sort of a strategist. He was a deputy director of HUD. He knows everything about real estate. He knows everything about mortgage, and, he's fantastic. So he'll be there as well. And the best way to reach me is to just email me at jen@jenduplessis.com. I don't play games with going on. You can go on my website at jenduplessis.com and pick up some gifts and all that good stuff. But if you really want to have a conversation, just email me and say, hey, can I pick your brain for a few minutes? And I'm happy to dedicate, some time to that. So Just make sure you come with one specific challenge so I can help you resolve a challenge instead of chatting about everything and anything. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's what's going on with me. Yeah, I got quite a few things going on right now. And, I'm a subject to investor. That's what I buy. I buy subject to. So if you run across something like that and you'd like to have me take a look at it, I'm happy to, do that. I buy subject to, and I buy small houses with cash, and I hold notes. Those are my two strategies right now. That's what I do.
Very cool, very cool. Well, thank you again. Thank you for taking the time. This has been an awesome interview. Loved every second of this. I appreciate you taking the time. And have a fantastic rest of your day out there. Go drink a cocktail in the lake. It might be a little too cold.
Well, it's winter in Virginia. I can't do it right now, but I will have a cocktail tonight. Thank you very much for reminding me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.